Today we're going to talk about 3 different ways to make your trees look dead using the Japanese art of Deadwood elements. And what makes these techniques so amazing is that they don't require any chemicals or glue, just some very basic tools and a little bit of patience. The 3 techniques are called Jin, Shari, and Sabamiki. We'll start with Jin, then move on to Shari, and finally Sabamiki. Each one of these has their own look and feel, and can be used in many different styles of bonsai. So let's get into it. These 3 techniques originated in China and have been practiced for centuries by Chinese bonsai artists. They were later refined in Japan and incorporated into the traditional Japanese arts of tree cultivation and landscape design. The term deadwood refers to the artificial creation of branches, trunks, or exposed roots that resemble those of naturally dead trees. These artificially created dead elements are then combined with living foliage to form a composition that appears to be a harmonious blend of life and death. This technique is often referred to as incorporating deadwood into bonsai, but technically speaking, this is not quite correct since no actual deadwood is being used. Rather, these techniques involve creating the appearance of deadwood using the living branches of a tree. Now, let's take a closer look at each one of these 3 deadwood elements. The first one is Jin. Jin is the exposure and preservation of a branch, or a leader to mimic natural weathering like lightning strikes or wind-burned limbs. You will need a healthy tree with an appropriately sized branch. For this demonstration, I am going to use a Chinese elm bonsai that was previously styled as a forest tree. To prepare the Jin, the branch should be chosen based on its location and prominence within the overall composition. A good Jin should have a natural look and feel like it's always been there. It is best to choose a branch that grows out of the top of the tree and is angled away from the center of the tree. Sometimes you can even leave a small amount of leaves at the tip of the branch to add realism. If the branch is too thick, you can always scrape the bark off the top of the branch to make it thinner. But for this demonstration, the branch is already thin enough, so we're ready to move on to the next step. We're now going to remove the bark from the side of the branch using a sharp blade or pruners. Start the cut about 1 inch above the branch junction and cut around the circumference of the branch. Continue the cut down the length of the branch until you reach the desired length of the Jin. The angle of the cut should resemble the natural taper of the branch. As you continue making cuts, you should also try to scrape away any remaining bark. Once the bark is removed, the branch will appear smooth and shiny. Next, we're going to darken the branch with black marker. You could use acrylic paints, but I prefer the ease and convenience of markers. Apply several layers of black marker along the entire length of the exposed wood. Let each layer dry before applying the next. The final result will be worth it. After the marker has dried, apply a coat of clear acrylic varnish. Varnish protects the marker from scratches and helps to seal the wood. Be careful not to get any varnish on the leaves. The varnish will kill the leaves if it comes into contact with them. Once the varnish has dried, we can now add color to the tips of the branches using colored pencils. Using a soft pencil, color the tip of the branch with light strokes. This simulates the natural fading and weathering that occurs over time. Colored pencils provide a nice realistic touch when done correctly. Now let's take a look at how the Jin turned out on our elm bonsai. In the before picture, you can see that the branch looked unnatural and didn't contribute to the overall aesthetic of the bonsai. After creating the Jin, the branch now looks like it's always been there and adds to the character of the tree. Now let's take a look at the after picture. The second deadwood element is Shari. Shari is the carving or stripping of bark from a section of the trunk. This technique creates a dramatic look reminiscent of harsh environments. When done well, the Shari blends seamlessly with the rest of the trunk, creating a convincing appearance of age and weathering. Just like a Jin, a Shari should look like it's always been there. Shari should also be left on the primary trunk of the tree and not the branches. The size of the scar should be proportionate to the size of the tree. For this demonstration, I will show you how to remove the bark from the trunk. There are many different tools you can use to carve the bark. You can use a simple flathead screwdriver to help pry the bark away from the trunk. You can also use a sharp blade or pruners to slice the bark away. Whatever tool you choose, the most important thing is to go slowly and be patient. Removing the bark should be done gradually, starting at the top of the scar and working your way down. This will help you avoid making any mistakes. If you do make a mistake, don't worry, it's easy to fix. Just take your time and be patient. Use a sharp blade or pruners to slice the bark back in place. As you work your way down the trunk, you may encounter areas where the bark is difficult to remove. This is normal and to be expected. If you get stuck, take a break and come back to it later. You can always use a flathead screwdriver to help pry the bark away from the trunk. Once the bark is removed, the trunk will appear smooth and shiny. Next, we're going to darken the trunk using black marker. Apply several layers of black marker along the entire length of the scar. Let each layer dry before applying the next. Once the marker has dried, apply a coat of clear acrylic varnish. Varnish protects the marker from scratches and helps to seal the wood. Once the varnish has dried, we can now add color to the trunk using colored pencils. Using a soft pencil, color the trunk with light strokes. This simulates the natural fading and weathering that occurs over time. Let's take a look at the before and after pictures of the Shari on our elm bonsai. In the before picture, the trunk looked smooth and featureless. After creating the Shari, the trunk now looks like it's always had this texture and has a lot more character. The third and final Deadwood element is Sabamiki. Sabamiki is the creation of a hollow or deep trunk cavity. This gives the impression of ancient damage, such as that caused by lightning strikes or an animal's sharp teeth. It also gives the tree a sense of age and resilience. Just like the previous two techniques, Sabamiki should look like it's always been there. That means that you want to create a cavity that blends seamlessly with the rest of the trunk. The size of the cavity should be proportionate to the size of the tree. For this demonstration, we're going to use a Chinese elm bonsai that has a single trunk with multiple small branches. We're going to remove all the branches and create a cavity on the side of the trunk. We will use a Dremel with a sanding drum attachment to create the cavity. Start slowly and carefully sand away any bark or any part of the trunk to expose the wood underneath. You want to create a gradual slope on both sides of the trunk. Once you've reached the desired depth of the cavity, you can use a file to smooth out any rough edges. Next, we're going to darken the inside of the cavity using black marker. Apply several layers of black marker along the inside of the cavity. Let each layer dry before applying the next. Once the marker has dried, apply a coat of clear acrylic varnish. Varnish protects the marker from scratches and helps to seal the wood. Once the varnish has dried, we can now add color to the cavity using colored pencils. Using a soft pencil, color the inside of the cavity with light strokes. This simulates the natural fading and weathering that occurs over time. Now let's take a look at the before and after pictures of the Sabamiki on our elm bonsai. In the before picture, the trunk was smooth and featureless. After creating the Sabamiki, the trunk now looks like it's always had this texture and has a lot more character. There you have it, 3 amazing ways to incorporate deadwood into your bonsai. Don't be afraid to experiment with these techniques and find out what works best for you and your bonsai. Remember to be patient and take your time. The results will be worth it. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Which deadwood technique is your favorite? Also, please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel for more great bonsai content. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy bonsaiing.